why would you pick up a practice of ancestor worship or ancestor honoring? To me, the answer is very simple. I think that we live in a society that drives us further and further away from spiritual connection and from intuition and from manifestation, really from our power. And I believe that by connecting to the ancestors, we are effectually connecting to a source of our own power. And we are recognizing the powers that brought us into existence and into consciousness. And so if you have anything that you want to add to the conversation or any way that you know to honor the ancestors, please go ahead and put that in the comments so we can continue this conversation as a group. Well, I often get a lot of people who have had maybe bad or abusive relationships with their family members, with their ancestors who have passed and who are no longer here. And a lot of people who have been through abusive or non-ideal situations with their family members have a lot of questions about ancestor worship, because it can be difficult to want to bring honor and to worship people or energies who maybe have been abusive or mean to us. So I do want to affirm you that if you've been through some less than ideal family situations, it is still very possible that you continue with an ancestor worship or ancestor practice. You can love and honor your ancestors for bringing you into consciousness, for giving you your bones, for making you alive and in this reality. You can give gratitude for that, but you do not need to do anything else. Simply, ancestor worship is simply that gratitude that we bring for our consciousness and for our existence. Being grateful to the ancestors is a really wonderful practice and a wonderful way to tap into our own power. If you have had ancestors in the past who are a part of a particular group of people, maybe a particular group of people who were prone to violence, who created a lot of violence to other people's ancestors, it can be a good thing to connect with your ancestors and to help clear any of the debt that they might have accrued in their life. Not that we are responsible for the sins of our ancestors, but we should be cognizant of our ancestors and the people who came before us. And that way we can give back to all of the spirits that are around us, all of the unseen beings and creatures. And like I said, ancestor worship is a good way to recognize where you came from. And recognizing where you come from helps you, I think, develop a path of self-acceptance to where you're going, and self-acceptance again for yourself, for your power, for your consciousness. And overall, it helps you adopt a mindset of gratitude for being alive. I feel like the world is collectively going through a lot. I think ancestor practice can help ground us in reality and help ground us in gratitude. And I want you guys to understand that ancestor practice is so widespread in so many different cultures and practices. We've got the Mesoamericans who used to have ossuaries. They used to have a place where they kept the bones of all of their people that came before them. A lot of primitive cultures from 10,000 BC era, when we see these anthropologists and paleontologists find out how our old ancestors lived. A lot of them lived in spaces where they kept the dead in their homes. So they kept, ashes or bones or, the pieces. They had tombs and funeraries and ossuaries inside of their homes. And it wasn't because, indigenous people or our ancestors, they were primitive in some way. It was because they understood how much the dead and how much the ancestors are important to our existence today. And they understood that the lessons that our ancestors have to offer us and have to give us are very important. And I just want to be here to affirm you that if you are someone who's like me and you've had a lot of struggle in your life, or you've had a lot of loneliness in your life, maybe you feel like you don't have a lot of friends or a lot of connections, or maybe you feel like the family you were given to in this life and this creation and this existence is, again, less than ideal. You do have so many people standing behind you who are willing to offer you love, who are willing to offer you support and genuine affection. All of those people who came before you are literally reaching out with their hands, just trying to touch your back and guide you and to help you find your power and to get in touch with your power. Explaining the ancestor worship a little bit, I want to give you some practical tips on how to offer ancestor worship, or how to honor your ancestors. My personal preference is to set up an altar, like an ancestor altar that's just dedicated to the ancestors. And so you might put your beloved dead, past, pictures of them on this altar. You might put trinkets or pieces of jewelry or little knickknacks or things that were very important to them when they were alive. So like on my ancestor altar, I've got this beautiful mirror, and it's from Italy. It's like bronze. It's like 150 years old, and it's just a small little handheld mirror. And it belonged to my great-great-grandmother. And I keep this mirror with me, and I set it face down, but I have it on my ancestor altar along with some like jewelry and things that are not expensive per se, but they have sentimental value and meaning to me because my ancestors held those items. So they're very important, and they carry that power and that energy of my ancestors. So I leave those on the altar. And then when you go to offer to the ancestors, there's a couple ways to do that. There's a lot, like I said, there's a lot of different magical practices. There's a lot of different people in this group. So there's no wrong way really to do this. And you might take some of the things that I'm saying, you might do your own research, or you might have things that you're already doing, and, to bring honor to the ancestors. But what I like to do every day personally is I have a special mug that is dedicated to the ancestors. And I wash this mug every day, and I fill it with fresh water. And I do this every day. So in that way, I'm bringing water to the ancestors on my altar, and use the water as I'm filling it up. I imagine filling the cup up with power and with gratitude. And then I set that on the altar, and I just leave it there. And that helps me feel really intentional and connected to my ancestors. On special occasions, I also have a little teacup that's like a little shot glass, and I'll put liquor in that little shot glass. If I am petitioning the ancestors or trying to specifically feel connection with them, I have a special candle that I use that I've consecrated. So I got this candle, I put special oils that I feel like would connect me to my ancestors, and I wipe it off every time I use it. So I get Florida water or salt water on a rag, and I clean this candle, and I put new oil on it every time I petition the ancestors. A lot of people do meals for their ancestors, so they have a large enough altar space where they can make a little plate of the best food of their meals, and then they offer that to the ancestors. I have too many kids and cats to make that part of like worship and honor workable for my life. Some of you might be in a different state or season, and that might be more accessible to you, but I don't usually do that. We do also offer silent meals during the solstice, and also during like the Day of the Dead or Samhain or whatever it is that you celebrate towards the end of the harvest, where we make a special meal that is special, or maybe a heritage meal that is culturally a part of our ancestors and our practice, and we'll eat it in silence and offer that honor of being able to enjoy this meal to our ancestors. And like I said, we do that totally quietly. So you can do water, you can do liquor, you can offer coffee or tea, you can offer food, you can offer cakes. And when you're finished with your offerings, you can either, pour them outside, give them to the trees, give them to the feral cats and the animals that are in your neighborhood, or you can send them to the crossroads. And if you have a crossroads, if you live by one, you can just set your offerings in the middle or on the side of the crossroads and just don't look at them, just turn around and keep walking and go home. But those are all really good ways that you can increase your connection to the ancestors and leave them offerings. You can also do all kinds of different meditations and things like that, which I won't get too much into that right now, but I just wanted to do a general video to put some information out there and get this conversation started about ancestor worship and about honoring the ancestors. If you have any kind of practices that you do that honor the ancestors, or if you do something that I haven't mentioned, please feel free to comment and let us know, so we can keep this conversation open and so that we can all learn more together about honoring the ancestors. But thank you guys all for watching.